The warehouse is open. Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 32. It's another one in the now famous collector profiles. We welcome Andy Strong to the microphone and to the camera today. Andy, how you doing? Pleasure to make your acquaintance, sir.
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for your time. You have a
Yeah.
very interesting journey slash collecting path slash background, all this stuff. We're going to get to it in due time.
Sure.
Real quick, if you have not read, and Andy, I know you've read and I've read, if you have not read the piece on ESPN.com about the MeiGray authentication, photo matching Ruth's called shot jersey, I highly recommend it. Quick
Oh, yeah.
read, informative read. The piece will be up in August as part of Heritage's auction. And this, kudos to Jim Montague and the MeiGray authentication team, because this, pardon the really awful dad pun, is a home run. MeiGray has photo matched another piece of sports history, Babe Ruth's called shot jersey. It was worn in the 32 Fall Classic, the World Series. I'm supposing they called it the Fall Classic back in 1932. I don't have it officially on record. It was against the Cubs. Great quotes throughout from our friend Jim Montague over at MeiGray. Job well done. The piece is amazing, to say the least, and the work that went into this, also amazing, rewarding. Go place a bid in Heritage's auction that comes up in August. Read the article on ESPN.com. Okay, warehouse is open. We always like to start off with, how did you get your start in the game-worn hobby? But Andy, even before the game-worn hobby, you've had some really cool jobs along the way. Can you talk about them? Will you talk about them and how they have affected or sort of steered you in the direction of being a prominent NHL Nashville Predators collector? Talk to me, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a collector since I was probably 7 or 8 years old. My dad and me, that's kind of how we would bond on things. We'd go to card shows and things like that. And big hockey fan. When the Binghamton Senators came to town in 2002, I had season tickets for the first time. I was just out of high school, and they did a special auction. They did a Hall of Fame auction. So they wore these special jerseys for the game and did a post game auction. I won a jersey, first game jersey I ever had. I was immediately hooked, absolutely immediately hooked. So and it's funny because that hobby and my collector hobby led me to actually work for the team for about 7 seasons. I ran all their merchandise and all the game worn jerseys and equipment. Everything kind of went through me, which was amazing. After that, I actually had a trading card shop for a while, and now I actually work for a company where we produce trading cards. So it's all cyclical.
So, all right. Do you still have the Hall of Fame auction piece from? No, gone, but not forgotten, as we like to say.
I have put many wanted posts out for it over the years. It's one of those things where I sold it when we were getting our house, and which at the time was not a bad idea, but man, I would love to have that jersey back. I'm pretty confident it got sold. It's Christoph Schubert was the player, and I'm pretty confident that jersey's over in Germany somewhere. But I would absolutely love to have it back in the collection. Absolutely love to have it back.
All right. So dare I even ask, the Binghamton Senators and the Predators, tell me about the tie-in, and your accent does not speak Tennessee to me. So
no, not at all.
Where's the affinity and how did that come to pass?
Um, my whole family, we're real big. We like entertainment. We like sports. We love country music. We started going to Nashville. We try and go once or twice a year. Once the kids are out of the house and out of school, we're hoping to have at least part of the year and be able to live down there. I just absolutely love it down there. And to have a pro team that I can follow, really fell in love with the fans down there as well. It's a great collector group. I've met a lot of great people that I would have known otherwise if not for the collector groups, and I just really enjoy it. So collected Binghamton stuff for years, went to Nashville, fell in love with that, and just hit the ground running.
So, all right, now I will ask you to rewind. You work for the Binghamton Senators, and how did that come? I mean, what came first, the collection, or this is a vein of work I'd like to get into?
Definitely the collecting. Like I said, I was really young when I started collecting. And then like my first job ever was working at a trading card shop when I was 14 years old. So it's always kind of been in my blood. And then I had the chance, I got to know a lot of the people that worked for the Senators organization. They were looking for a little bit of a change, and just talking with them, they'd be like, oh, I like that idea. I like that idea. And they had reached out to me and said, hey, look, we're ready to make a change. Would you like to come in and do this? And so I was able to step in and do that, which was a dream at the time. Like, who gets to do that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was really great, really great. Stayed around long enough to I got a Calder Cup championship ring from 2011 when the Senators won, and so that's a nice piece I'll be able to pass on to my son someday.
I always ask this, whether I'm talking to the team from MeiGray or other collecting friends, when you are enmeshed or entrenched in an occupation
Hmm.
that also goes hand in hand with your passion, it can be a dream. It can also be, and I use this tongue in cheek, but sort of a nightmare scenario. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like all of these things, but I also understand that my bosses and the company and everybody wants to make money here. I can't just do it.
Right.
Talk to me about how the balance was when you were running merch for the Senators, and also gone. Yeah, I'd like more gamers. I'd like to, but you got to slow down, of course.
Right. At the beginning, it was really tough because it was that kid in a candy store, like, oh, I want that, I want that. And then you almost get, I hate to say it, but you almost get numb to it after a little bit. After a couple of years, you're just like, all right, this is just part of the job. This is what we do. I have a couple of friends that are equipment managers, and they tell me the same thing. They're like, it's equipment. It's just something we don't really care. We're used to it. We're always around it. And when you're around it, it is so. And I was involved in developing a lot of the specialty jerseys and things like that. The team wore some really cool ones that other franchise hadn't worn before and things like that. And I never kept any of it. And so after I left, a couple years after I left, is when I really got back into it. And I've been kind of slowly adding all those back to the collection over the years because I just never really had any of that stuff.
All right, so I'm going to take another little off ramp. Did you have
Yeah.
a background in design and what have you? Because you talked
No.
about helping to, create and collaborate. Normally, it's like, hey, let's call Andy. He's got this in his. I mean, dude, you like not only lived the dream, but a lot of people go to school for many, many years, and not that there's by the way, there's also I worked in sports radio for 27 years. How
Yep.
did I get in? I was waiting tables and listening to the radio station when it opened and delivered
Yep.
food to the overnight people. They're like, oh, you didn't go to school for years and years and years about sports radio? I was a sports fan. I had
Yep.
passion. I had the gift of gab and what have you. And I brought the dudes free food. Like that's how you kick in the door. So
Yep.
that's why I'm always fascinated. And I help to create a lot of these logos and styles and what
Yep.
have you. And then you go, so were you formally trained? No, I just thought this was a really good idea.
Right.
That's the stuff that's amazing to me.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I knew what I liked and would enjoy, and a lot of times I would think, well, if I would think it's a good idea, others would probably think it's a good idea, and I probably had some ideas that people wouldn't end up liking, and so you have meetings with other people and you kind of discuss it, and sometimes you go, okay, yeah, maybe that won't work, but then there's some that really did work. One of my favorites we did when I was with the Senators, we did a Festivus night jersey, which we were the first ones to do it, and the front of it said, it's a Festivus for the rest of us, right from Seinfeld, and had the Senators guy holding the Festivus pole instead of a hockey stick, and just a
Perfect.
great jersey. And the whole night was Seinfeld night and everything, and it was just a fun night to do.
It's awesome. I mean, again, and I know that a lot of people have riffed and variations on a theme. I'm always a sucker for Jerry Stiller, looking around the table and going, I got a lot of problems with you
Oh
people.
my goodness,
That's,
yes, yep,
it's just it's one of the classic lines of
yep,
television.
yep,
So from there, you then go to work in a trading card store. Tell
yep,
me a little bit about what that was like. And I, there are similarities. You're still very much in a merch world, but
yep.
now you're dealing on definitely a more intimate scale.
Yeah, just dealing with customers every day, working direct with the manufacturers at the time. And I kind of got a little lucky. Like I had the shop during the big boom during 2020, 21, 22. Like things went really well with that. And which is also why I was able to kind of build up my collection a little bit and everything. But I just working with people is so much fun to me. And especially like the kids would come in and, you get guys that would come in and drop a couple $1,000s a week on boxes of cards like it was nothing, no big deal. Then you get a kid who come in and had $30, $40 worth of birthday money, and wanted a couple packs of cards, and you throw them an extra pack or something, and they just get so excited. And I look at myself when I was that age and how I just loved it. I was so passionate about it, and I just wanted other people to hang out with and talk to about it and stuff like that. So I really try to make my shop like a community place where people could come in, enjoy it. I didn't care if you're buying anything or not. If you want to just come in and hang out, talk to people, trade cards and stuff. It's just fun. It was a fun atmosphere. And I also did have people bring in game worn jerseys and stuff to sell me, which was always nice too.
That's what I was going to ask. A lot of stores don't dabble in that. A lot of stores do because, and I mean, store owners too, God bless them, all sorts. they may have it up there as kind of wallpaper, and you go, oh, that's not a gamer, that's not a gamer. But
Right.
I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to decorate and promote a vibe and what have
Yep.
you. And then you may spot something and you go, oh, is that, can I see that for a second? And you notice some stitch work, or you notice some
Oh yeah.
popped threads on hems, or on,
Yep.
on a shoulder or whatever, unrepaired hole. How much, how little did that what's the word, re-amplify, if you will, the thirst, or sort of kindle that gamer collecting? You're like, all right, enough with the paper, enough with the cardboard,
Yep.
enough with the insert cards. I gotta get back. It's talk to me
Well,
about that.
especially when someone would bring in a collection, it would be some of the jerseys that I had helped design that, like I said, I didn't keep back then. So especially when the Binghamton Senators left and the Devils came in back in 2016, 17, right around there. You had a lot of Senators fans that were like, well, I'm going to get rid of my Senators jerseys and start buying, Devils jerseys and whatnot. So I'd have collections, 10, 15, 20 game worn jerseys come in, like, oh man, I need that one. I need that one. I remember doing this jersey. I remember, talking to the league and getting permission to do this. And just, it kind of rekindles all that. And the joy of collecting it is really fun. The community is what really makes it.
And that's the underlying thread through all of these podcasts, whether
Yep.
we talk to you or George or whomever. It's
Yep.
always about the memory of the first game, or it's about, stoking the fires of the community inside of a trading card store where
Absolutely.
gamers may or may not be prevalent. You just want to build the sense of hobby passion, hobby pride, hobby fun, hobby
Yep.
acceptance. And you're like, you all want to talk about that stuff. I have a friend, a dad friend. His kid plays baseball with my son, and he texts me now probably 5 days a week, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
He even said, Andy, I hope I'm not being a pain in your butt with these. And I said, I love talking about sweaters.
That's how I am.
I
I still get people like,
Yes,
can you come look at a collection? I got, someone will, maybe a family member passed away or something like that, and they're just trying to figure out what they have. And they're like, would you be willing to help out? I'm like, I'll come do it. I don't want anything for it. I just like looking at stuff. It's fun seeing a new collection. And if I can help steer someone in the right direction and whatnot, that's fun as well. But it's just cool seeing what other people collect, figuring out why other people collect certain things. Because there's stuff I collect that you're going to have no interest in, and vice versa. Like, it just happens like that. So why do you collect what you collect, and why do I collect what I collect? And it's fun learning about that and talking the differences and the similarities.
definitely so. It's Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 32, talking to Andy Strong. It's another one of our collector profiles. These are a lot of fun for me because I get to meet new people and talk about the hobby. Andy, we
Absolutely.
talked a little bit about the Predators.
Yep.
We've sort of pre-answered this question, but is there a sub collection in your game worn jersey collection? Is it ultra Preds focused only? Do you scatter? Are there specific milestones? Is it games you've seen when you've gone down to Bridgestone, or road games along the way? Or is it Preds World? Thanks.
So I probably have three sub collections. It's broken up into three major collections. One is the North American Hockey League and the original North American Hockey League, the Broom Dusters, the Maine Nordiques, stuff like that. So I'm trying to get a game worn home and road jersey from every team from that league. Me and my friend Mark Bronsky have been working on this project for probably about 15 years now. We have probably about 8 game worn Broom Dusters jerseys, which we're pretty proud of that. And a few other things, but that's one of the collections. I also have a pretty nice Binghamton collection. Not as big as it used to be, but it's got some of the major things that I would want. And then my Predators collection is definitely the biggest. And within that, I really like players that had an impact, top 10 level players on any like major statistics. So top 10 goal scorers, assists, points, penalty minutes, power play goal, like all the little subcategories. I like to try and hit the top 10 of each of those. And then anything to do with historic moments. So like the Roman Josi jersey behind me, that was worn when he tied and broke the team's all-time franchise scoring record.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an important one to me. I have the Josi jersey that he was wearing when he tied and broke the single season points record for the Predators. I have the jersey that UC Saros was wearing when he had 64 saves. So things like that. I like the historic level jerseys, things that have a meaning behind them for sure.
So historic takes place up here. When you look at where, is it, hey, the more the better, or I'll still take the milestone or the insta memory over a 10 repair sweater any day of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about wear. I love wear, but I would rather have this Yossi jersey, which was worn for 3 games maybe, over a jersey he might have even worn for a half a season or a quarter of the season, but nothing significant happened in that jersey. It's nice to have the milestones. It's also nice to have a jersey that has a ton of wear as well. So if I can get one of each, then that's always nice as well.
Of course, because of the extensive collection, or as part of the extensive collection, are there other alt styles? The mustard cat, the eggplant. Are they featured prominently in the Andy Strong Museum?
I have 4, I think, mustard cat jerseys. I don't love them as much as most of the Nashville collectors do. I do like the navy alt a lot. I do have one of the white alts that they did. I don't know if you've ever seen those before. They wore them for a Nash Vegas event in Nashville the season before they switched to all yellow. And it was rumored that that was going to be the new home and road jersey, was going to be the navy alt and that white. And there's only roughly, one set of these white ones known to exist. So I was able to pick up one of those. I do like those. The reverse retro 2.0s and the stadium series are probably my 2 favorite styles. I like most of the Predators jerseys, except for I don't love the Reebok Edge era. I don't. I know a lot of people.
Tell me why.
Well, I had a bad taste in my mouth a little bit with it because I was working for the Senators when that happened, when the switch went from the regular, generic Reebok jerseys of 6200s or whatever they were to the Edge jerseys. And I just remember all the problems that we had with those jerseys. And it was just a nightmare in the locker room. It was a nightmare on the merchandise end of it. Nothing went smooth with that at all. And at least with the NHL, those players were able to switch after about a month. The AHL was literally told, you're going to finish the season with these jerseys, whether you like it or not. And the players did not like it. So I had a bad taste from that. And I don't love the way they look. They're very, very plain looking to me. That I do like the navy alt, though, that is in that era. But the regular home and road, I know some people love them and they're starting to get nostalgic, thoughts on those, but doesn't do anything for me.
No worries. Talking to Andy Strong, it's Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 32, collector profile. Andy, a prominent Nashville Predators collector, also North American Hockey League collector. Tell me a little bit more about the draw to the NAHL. Is it the history? Is it the teams that have been here and gone? Is it, again, so I guess more on that, another way to phrase the question, just sort of the difficulty in procuring a lot of those pieces? Or being part of something that forever holds on to, teams that have faded and entities that have faded.
I think the North American Hockey League has become infamous because of Slapshot. I mean, that league is always going to be tied into Slapshot. Growing up in Binghamton, it was like, I'm too young to have gone to Dusters games. They left in 1980. I was born in 83. So I never got to go to Dusters games, but I'd hear about it and I'd see videos and listen to the old time, the booster members and stuff like that. And the way they would talk about it, you just kind of fell in love with the idea of it. And so probably a good 25 plus years ago is when I started looking for Dusters collectibles, not so much jerseys at first. I was collecting programs and pucks and anything I could find. And then probably 2009, 2010 is when I got my first Dusters jersey for $25. I can't make that up. Is at an estate sale. So I found that and kind of fell in love. But it's the rarity, it's the history. There's jerseys that we're not sure any exist. I mean, we've never seen a Mohawk Valley Comets jersey in the wild at all. We don't know of anybody that has ones. There's Clinton Comets jerseys from the old ECHL, but North American Hockey League, we've never seen one. I know I've talked to players. Did they all get thrown away? We don't know. Buffalo Nordsmen, I know of 2 or 3 of them. That's it. There's certain teams that they just don't exist. So hunting them down is definitely nice. And the history. I mean, it's not like today. The Dusters wore 6 total sets of jerseys in 7 years. So
totally understandable. And they're pivoting it to like Andy Strong's White Whales. If you had to choose your top 3, your sort of all-time wish list of a game worn, even if you've already gotten it, it's like, you know what? There are 2 more White Whales, but one of them I've already hooked and line, and it's already on the wall. We've stuffed it, we've mounted it, and it sits there. It's not going anywhere. Is there a list of players that you would want, and again, do you already have anybody in that trio?
Yeah, I mean, for like North American Hockey League, I have a Paul Stewart and a Ken Holland game worn Dusters jersey. So those are huge. Goldthorpe would be big. I have a Syracuse Goldthorpe game worn jersey, which is cool. Would love a Dusters. I know where the white one is. It's not, that'll never be seen. It was literally gifted to someone who had cancer and they were buried in it. So that jersey's gone. So there is still a gold Goldthorpe out there somewhere. I would love to find that. Moving towards the Predators, though, the number one want would definitely be, and I know where it is, but the Pekka Rinne goal scored jersey. When he scored a goal, I'd love to have that jersey. And then the Andrew Burnett jersey he was wearing when he scored the first goal in franchise history. Sure. I don't even know how you'd photo match that. There's hardly any photos in the first couple seasons of the Preds. It's very frustrating with that. Those would be the main ones I would think I would want. Anything important though, I would always be interested in. But those would be the biggest ones. Maybe a Stu Grimson jersey as well.
It's a pretty good want list. You already hit me pretty hard with the $25 Dusters jersey. So but I do have to ask, are there other best all-time purchases, and are there worse? We've all got I think we should start doing a podcast series on what was the worst thing you ever bought. And man, I'd like to compile my own list, because it'd be mockable. You'd be like, why did you do that? But we all love things in the moment.
Absolutely.
Well, for reasons we shouldn't love them, Andy, but we love them anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Having worked for the team and we do those post-game jersey auctions of the specialty jerseys, you're watching AHL guys who realistically are never going to be anything outside the AHL. Jerseys sell for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and you're sitting there going,
sure,
well, that's not going to age well, unfortunately. And I've gotten caught up in that for sure. On the good end of it, I don't know that I definitely got great deals on them, but early on when I first started collecting Preds jerseys, I had the chance to buy a Paul Kariya game worn jersey, and they're not cheap. And I had never bought a jersey that expensive, but I had to have it. So I'm very thankful I bought that. That's probably the biggest one, where it's like, the other one would be, I had a chance to buy Pekka Rinne's game worn AHL All-Star jersey from the game played in Binghamton. So I worked that game, and then now had to have the tie-in with Pekka and then be able to buy that jersey. That was a big one for me, for sure.
There's a trend in the hobby and in any hobby that never goes out of style. And that is, and we talked a little bit about it before, the trend of community, the trend of friendship, the trend of bonding over a soda at an expo, or a beer or a whatever at an expo, and just your common love of game used fabric. And you can collect the Preds and I can collect the Caps, and we'll still talk. And we've not met prior to today, and we'll talk for hours. And, I don't want to ever come across as, these are like my vacation photos. And you go, oh my gosh, it's really, there's a bonding, there's an excitement, there's a joining, there's a connection. That's the trend that never leaves. And it's the trend of mutual appreciation for the most part. Like that's the one trend that never, you can't buck it. You don't want to buck it, because you want to share in this community.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. I've made so many friends. There's people that I've talked to and have known for 25 years at this point, it seems like, that I've never met, but I have a relationship with them there, and it might go years. It might be 2-3 years later. If someone will post something, I'll go to, message them and I go, geez, I haven't talked to them in 6 years. But when we do talk, it's like we're best friends, and we haven't, it's the same with the expo. That's why I love the expo, going down there and just putting a face to the names and actually having a conversation in person, and, shooting the, what with people. That's great. That's the best part about it. And just, what did you pick up? What'd you find? Why'd you like that? It's so much fun. And again, everyone collects for a different reason or likes different stuff. And that's what makes it fun. Because if everyone just collected the same thing, it'd be boring. So tell me why you like this, or why did you, start collecting that? That's what's great. And where'd you find it?
And it's almost time for a MeiGray Expo, July 13th at Raritan Valley Community College. John LeClaire will be there. That's awesome. If you haven't got a table yet, I'm certain they are going quite quickly. Please reach out to Stu Oxenhorn at MeiGray. Again, John LeClaire. It's always an amazing, amazing, amazing time to connect and to, pardon the corny cliche, meet friends you have not met yet and bond over the fabric. Now, back to the trends question. Any trends you've noticed in collecting or in sweaters that you're like, this, I like the way this is going? Or maybe you don't like the way something's going.
I think everything's going well. I think it's interesting where people are with common jerseys at this point. If it's a regular home or road Predators jersey of a guy who played a handful of games, or even if he was just a fourth line guy that didn't make an impact anyway, those jerseys are getting harder and harder to move. I think there's enough inventory out there now where people are able to be a little picky. I mean, obviously the price of something like a McDavid or even a Roman Yossi or Pekka Rinne, maybe those are a little out of some people's range, but you can still get a decent player from MeiGray for $500-600. That's not crazy, especially when an authentic, made in Indo jersey is $300 from a team store. You spend a little bit more, and you can have a jersey the guy actually wore. So I think people are being a little more picky on what they're buying, but people definitely love the specialties, and that's been tough because they get expensive, especially when they go up for auction. So it's that's always interesting.
People love the specialties. People love, and again, if you've ever been to MeiGray and you've ever just walked through the warehouse, every sweater tells a story and has
100%.
a story. And maybe the story, Andy, involves you being in the arena that night, or maybe it involves you watching the game with your son, with your daughter, with your significant other, with your mom, with your dad, with whatever. You're like, actually, it's right in our price point, and I remember watching this with you. Let's buy this and put it in a frame, or let's buy it and just, and those are maybe it was a third line winger that was a recent call up and it didn't even do much, but you have an affinity or you're drawn to that. There's again,
it has a meaning to you in some way. I have a couple jerseys from the first game me and my wife ever went to at Bridgestone. I have a couple from that game. I have four or five jerseys from the Stadium Series because we went down to that. I have UC Saros mask from that game as well. So stuff that was important because again, we were there to witness it. We got to enjoy that together. So we always have those memories, and it's nice to have the jerseys to go along with that memory. So I think when you can put a personal spin on it, it really adds a little extra value personally, to me at least.
Absolutely. As we continue today on Volume 32, Tales from the Warehouse with Andy Strong, talking amongst millions of topics. You've been doing this for a little while, and the advice tends to change, and sometimes it doesn't. Do you have advice for the new collectors in the game-worn world?
Biggest thing I would tell people is what I was telling people in the sports card hobby during the boom the last couple of years. People kept saying, what should I collect? What should I invest in? What should I collect? I would tell people, collect what you like, for sure, and collect what you can afford to lose the value on. Because if you get in too deep, you can lose the enjoyment. I've seen a couple of collectors lately kind of rushing to sell off their collections because they got in too deep and they couldn't enjoy it because of that. If you have to go slow, if you have to start with replica jerseys, start with replica jerseys, work your way up to authentics, then get a couple game jerseys here and there. You don't have to go all in right away. There's different ways to enjoy it at every budget. So don't overdo it and collect what you like. Like Mark Borowski is one of the guys I really like. He played here in Binghamton. He was a captain, played for Nashville. I think I have 5 of his jerseys. Realistically, long term, they're going to have not a ton of value in the hobby, but for me, they're pretty important. I watched him again play here in Binghamton. Great guy, great leader. He still works for the Predators now, working with the young guys and stuff. Those kind of jerseys are important to me. So I don't care what the value is, and I understand that I might have paid $500 for it, and down the road it'll be worth $300. I don't care. Like that jersey is important to me. So buy what's important to you, what means something to you, and if you lose a little bit, you lose a little bit. If you buy a T-shirt for $50, do you expect to get that back out of it in 5-10 years after you've worn it 30 times? No. So I think too many people don't look at it that way. The enjoyment of having that collectible has value just in that alone. So look at it that way.
It's perfect advice. And that T-shirt that you're wearing for all those times, and maybe you picked it up on a trip to Nashville at a store on 12 South or something like that. There you go. There's my local reference. And there's that great T-shirt store that's down past the Frothy Monkey on the right-hand side in the former gas station place. I always go in there. They have the softest T-shirts. They're a little expensive, but they're awesome. But you buy a T-shirt there, you wear it 12, 15, 20, 50 times, and then you start to weep when the neck gets a little soft.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's brought me so much happiness. I mean,
absolutely. And you,
Back to
no
your
part,
definition. Go ahead,
right?
Andy. Go
No
ahead.
part of you sitting there going, "Well, geez, after 5 years, I better get my money back out of this shirt." No part of you is thinking that. You got all that enjoyment and wear time out of it and everything. So think of your jerseys like that. I mean, yes, it's you don't want to put $10,000 out for a jersey that's going to be worth $500 someday. So you got to be a little bit responsible with it, but yeah, buy what you like and buy what you can afford, and know that you're probably not going to get your money back on everything. But man, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun ride.
No, and I appreciate your, we'll call it a definition, because again, collectors are not one size fits all. There's
Mhm.
all types. We collect so many different things, but I absolutely have a fondness for your outlook and view on, I'm good with you know a third liner or this or whatever. Those sweaters mean something to
Yep.
me. That defines a collector. Why do you
Right.
collect? Because I like the guy, not
Right.
necessarily because I'm in it to win it. Nobody wants to lose. Like that sort of becomes
Right.
a low hanging fruit definition. Oh, well, what'd you pay for it? Does that matter? What's it worth now? If it's
Right.
worth more than you paid, that's a bonus. You are
Right.
technically getting into collector. You are technically getting into this because you like the hobby and you
Right.
want to share in what makes you happy.
Yep. There's a lot of enjoyment in that. And it's the relationships that you develop as part of that. That all has value. It might not be monetary value, but it's got value. And again, if I end up losing a little bit of money on a shirt over the years, or whatever, so be it. I had a lot of fun with it, and it helped me connect with somebody maybe. And I've given shirts back to players before, jerseys back to players when I'll talk with them, especially like guys that played in Binghamton. We had the BC Icemen for years, and
Mm-hmm.
low level UHL team. And I've talked to some of those players, and they'll come back for the Hall of Fame weekends and stuff that we do, and they'll be here with their kids running around and everything. And I'll go and talk to them, and like, I never got one of my jerseys. I'm like, well, here, just take it, because that jersey means something to me. It means the world to them or to their kids. So like, just have fun with it. And look at it as a community, and how can everybody benefit each other. And I love doing that, trading and giving stuff away, and it all comes around.
Andy, this has been a pleasure. Thank you, thank you. By the way,
Absolutely.
so then we pivot to MeiGray and the recent authentication of the Babe Ruth called shot
Oh,
jersey from the 1932 World Series against the Chicago Cubs. If you haven't
such a great
seen it,
jersey.
you should. If you have not read the ESPN.com article, there's a link to it right on MeiGray's front page. Kudos to Jimmy Montag and the authentication team for a job well done. This thing is
Oh,
living
unbelievable.
history. Just
Unbelievable.
enjoy, embrace, and it's available at auction in August at Heritage. So
Yep.
go have fun, read the article, and just be careful your jaw doesn't break your feet when your jaw hits the floor.
It's a piece
Andy,
of
this
art.
is fun. Yeah, it's absolutely a piece of art.
Yep.
Continued fun, continued success, continued embracing of the hobby. Thank you for being a solid ambassador and a good citizen. And good luck with
Anytime.
the Preds collection. We appreciate it greatly. For Andy, I'm Scott. We thank you as always. It's Tales from the Warehouse. Till next time. And by the way, MeiGray Expo upcoming July 13th. See you at Raritan with John LeClaire. The warehouse is closed.